administration. We just pray for the police force and all of our residents that you would just keep us safe and unharmed. Give us godly wisdom to make the right decisions each day. We thank you for all that you've done. We give you all the praise, the honor, and the glory. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen. Amen. All right, we're going to go right into the...
Go ahead.
We're going to go right into the City Focus meeting. So I'm going to turn it over to Howard Elstrode and let him go from here.
Well, thank you. Thank you for welcoming us. This is the Mayor's Focus. The Mayor is engaged in another city opportunity this afternoon, and he will be joining us very soon, but so as not to hold up the neighborhood associations who has so graciously hosted us, we will go ahead and get started. I want to note that we have two council persons here tonight. We have Teresa Adams from the 5th Ward, and we also, I think I saw Derry Glenn from the 6th Ward is here this evening. Thank you for coming. What we do at this forum is that the mayor invites all the department heads up. We share a little bit about what our department is doing currently, and we will follow that same format this evening. And when the mayor gets here, I'm sure he'll take this microphone away from me, and I'll be done for the evening. Amy Odom from DCD, would you like to start us out?
Thank you, Hope Neighborhood Association, for having us here tonight for the Mayor's City Focus. As you know, the Department of Community Development does many things. We wear many hats. We do 6 different programs. We manage funds for many other departments other than our own. And what we're best known for is our neighborhood support programs, where you may have worked with Connie Dersham, who works with the 12 different neighborhood associations in the city and the 2 outside. A mayor will talk a little bit about where he's been. He's just walked in the door, but part of Connie's program is doing the CARE Academy, and the mayor was speaking at that earlier today at the LACNIP Resource Center. So we do that. Property maintenance code enforcement, always a popular topic at neighborhood meetings. I'd like to say that we're moving along quite well this year with our specified parcel program and our land bank program. I don't think we talk enough about when we have vacant land, what is the city doing to try to put it back into productive use. And I guess I wanted to spend a minute talking about our land bank program tonight. If there is a vacant lot next to you, there are 2 things I need to say. 1, the city probably does not own it. We do not own those lots. But 2, you may have an opportunity to own that lot. If it is a tax delinquent lot, it's been delinquent for more than 2 years, and it's adjacent to you, please contact us, because the City of Lima, through our land bank partnership with the Allen County Treasurer's and Auditor's Office, can make that available to you if there are no significant legal entanglements for about $250. When you think about the number of vacant properties in the City of Lima, the vacant lots that are available, it is staggering. We are working right now with the Allen County Treasurer's Department to try to get a better count of that, but we know it is in the thousands. Those lands, if they are adjacent to what you own, please give us a call at the land bank, and we'll see what we can do, if we can, to help you acquire that land. But 2 things: we don't own that land, but you may be able to, so give us a call. In addition to that, we also have our planning and zoning program in partnership with the Public Works Department. We act as the secretariat. If you have an application for a lot, if you'd like to have a lot a split, an alley vacation. If you need to build a garage that's bigger than what's usually allowed on your lot, you contact us. We take the application and we take it to the Board of Adjustment or the City Planning Commission to see if we can get you the kinds of services you need. Last thing I want to say is it's been a busy day in the Department of Community Development. The mayor doesn't, I believe, even know this yet, but we did receive today our letter from HUD, which states that we will be funded in October with our CDBG and home funds. Yay. There's some additional good news on top of that. At Council on Monday, we'll be talking about some additional unallocated funds that HUD is making available to us. When we went through, for those of you who came to our planning process this year for our CDBG and home funds, I kept saying that home dollars were a little different this year. We were in process of doing some readjustment. HUD was doing some readjustment to our funds and how we could use them. Some good things came out of that. All of the homes at Whittier Place are now sold. That's exciting because they let us drop the prices on some of those homes. So they are now all sold by 2 homeowners. None of them are rental. Habitat is building, is completing work on a home there, and there are 2 more lots that Habitat will be filling. So there will be 12 owner-occupancy homes in your neighborhood, which is very exciting. That was one of the adjustments we made with HUD. The other is that there is going to be some additional down payment assistance money for first-time home buyers, and we'll be talking about that on council on Monday. But basically, we should have money for about 17 more down payments than we thought we had. This is some new money that, again, that is being released to us as unallocated funds and will be home dollars. So that's my big news for tonight. You're the first to hear it. You'll be hearing it again on Monday night. So some good news for our home ownership program. So thank you for the opportunity. Who would like to speak next? I believe our mayor, David Berger.
Thank you. Well, good evening. I apologize for being late. I think Amy mentioned that I had the opening session for the Care Academy tonight over at the Resource Center, and ended up taking a little longer than I had expected. But I do appreciate being able to be here with the staff and with a couple of counselors. And I think, as was described, we're going to have them come up, give us a few minutes of insight as to what's going on in their department currently, and then we'll open it up for any questions. So, Chief Hefner, Fire Chief, all yours.
Thank you, Mayor. In lieu of content, I brought gifts, which I'll hand out afterwards. Amy was talking about community development and actually keeping things nice in the city of Lima, keeping your structures nice. And let me touch on that. Lima Fire Department's got quite a bit of money to spend this year for improvements. First of all, it's a rare occurrence to have that much money to spend, but you're going to see some improvements in the fire stations, and it'll also help improve the look of the neighborhood. Central Fire Station is going to get all new bay doors, brand nice new ones, they'll all match. It's been bothered me for a long time. The doors at Central Fire Station, we have 8 doors. I think there's about 5 different colors on them because they've been broken, damaged, replaced over the various 40 years that we've been there. So for the first time, probably since early after the station was built, we're going to have garage doors that look alike. So it's going to look very nice, very appealing from the front of the fire station and from the back of the fire station. The other 2 fire stations, Station 2 over here and Station 3 in the north of town, are getting new windows. Well, it's probably not that attractive to people driving by, but they're better looking than the windows that we have there currently, and they'll be make it more comfortable for the guys inside, quieter, easier for them to do their work if they get a chance to get a little bit of rest. Plus, again, it will look a little bit nicer from the outside. So most things we do at the fire department, the public can't really see because it's done inside or it's done in a home or it's done somebody else's neighborhood. But these are tangible things that you can see, the public can see just driving by the stations. And I think that you'll understand, I hope that you understand, we're making good use of the funds that you allocate to us. We're trying to keep things as nice as we can, maintaining the property that you've given us to take care of, and with any luck, providing a very good service to the citizens of Lima. And like I said, I'm a little short on content tonight, but I do have gifts. And I will take questions if anybody has any questions. Well, thank you very much.
Chief, why don't you comment about the...
I'm not finished.
Lifts.
Oh, this is something, with any luck, you'll never have to see. But it's been very beneficial to us. We got a grant about a year ago, we started the process, got a grant from the Bureau of Workers' Comp to buy some new lifts, some new cots for our ambulances. As you may know, we've just recently gotten into the ambulance business and transporting people to the hospitals. What we noticed early on was we were getting a lot of lifting injuries. Guys were hurting shoulders, backs, knees. I mean, it was fairly rare, regular occurrence. And it was costing us quite a bit of money. So the question was, how can we alleviate these? And one of the problems we come into is, well, first of all, the guys are busy. We're lifting a lot of patients in the course of a day, and we're lifting heavier patients than we used to lift. People are they're just fact of life, people are heavier than they used to be. So we got in touch with people at Bureau of Workers' Comp, and they had a program where they would give us some money. They would, if we matched it, of course, to buy some equipment, training to help us cut down or possibly eliminate some of our injuries. After some research, what we found were power cots and power lifts for our ambulances. And I'm not going to scare you with the dollar amount yet because it's quite staggering and frightening. What these do, we put a patient on them. We don't have to lift this patient up to put them in the ambulance. They're electrically powered. Push a button, lifts the patient up to the right height. An arm comes out the back of the ambulance, picks the patient up, brings them inside, secures them. And they're much more secure than they were with any other cot system we had. In case of an ambulance, they're more secure than they used to be. So it's safer. And since we have installed these, and we've been operating with these maybe 6 months, I have got no injuries, no back, no shoulder, no knee injuries resulting from patient lifting. So I don't know what the costs are. We're going to run through this later on, probably later on in the year, see where we stand. But we do expect this to save us tens of thousands, maybe $100,000, over the course, potentially even a year, because I think we're running the numbers, and we were showing losses of up to $200,000 since we got into this business, just because of lost time, what we had to pay people to backfill those positions. So the $80,000 we paid per ambulance, and we got 3 ambulances, so we got $120,000, $125,000 in these systems, I believe already paid for themselves. The guys are happier, and you can't understand what that means. In the fire station, it's rare. You could give everybody money and there'd be somebody that'd be upset about it. Somehow they wouldn't be happy. This is the only thing I've done, or I've seen done in the fire station in my memory. Everyone that's used it is very happy with it. Better service to the customer, helps our people out, provides a better service, and we're saving a bunch of money in injuries. So that was a very good thing. Thank you, Mayor, for bringing that up, because I'd almost forgotten. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, we do. But let me give you a little more background. What we're trying to do is get back to what we had in the past. A few years back, we had people. They were people we have from Experience Works. It's a government program where they'll provide, I say senior citizens because they're people younger than me, and they would go out door to door, give people a home safety check. As part of that program, we also had smoke detectors. If they saw a need, there wasn't a smoke detector in the house, they'd install the smoke detector. Well, those people they hit their time in this program. We're having some difficulty finding people to fill that mission. But yes, here's a long story, to make a short story long. Yes, we still do have smoke detectors. If you have a need, call our fire prevention office, 221-5160, I believe. That'll get you to the fire station, and we'll get one for you. But we'll get you all set up. Yeah, we do have those. And I can give you my card. Don't worry, we'll see that you get that information. But yeah, we do have those available. And if you need it, we'll even install them for you. I mean, it's that important to us. We'll even install them if you need. Yes, Mr. Glenn.
We have our firefighters working ambulance service. How's it going? Since we've been doing.
I'm not sure what you mean by how's it going, but very well.
Since we got a part of it, it's going very well right now.
Yeah, the way we run our ambulance service is if someone calls 911, and this is 911 service only. We don't transport somebody from a nursing home to a hospital or anything like that. We provide 911 emergency EMS service only. We split that with Lima Allen County paramedics. We take a call, they take a call, our other ambulance takes a call. Anyway, we rotate it that way. And so far, like I said, it's been very good. Our men are as proficient or better than any medics in town. I'll stack our medics up against anybody in town. I have to say, when we started 3 or 4 years ago, there was a little concern. Our guys hadn't been out in the streets doing the EMS work for a long time, and they were a little worried. So I think partially because they were concerned about not looking bad on the street, they hit the books hard. They studied. We brought our trainers in, and our guys have done very, very well. They're some of the best paramedics around right now. So if you do have need for medical services, call 911. And here's something most people don't know. If you prefer the fire department to respond, you can request when you call, send the Lima Fire Department. Here, it's your service, it's your health. It's up to you. You can have either company you want. You could also do the same for LACP if for some reason you wouldn't care for our service. You have the ability to make that choice.
On that lift system, the new lift system that you got, how does that, I mean, is that a cart-like thing hooked up to that when the arm reach out and lift the person up?
It is. Well, you've seen sometimes words elude me. The cots that we use, you've seen that when the Halton House. Well, it's a similar cot, except it has a motor and a lift system on it. It's a little bit heavier, but they're telling me it was more than worth it. We'll take that to the house, roll the patient out to the back of the unit. At that point, we can lift it up. And then, like I said, an arm just comes out the back of that ambulance, picks it up, so our guys don't have to get down low and lift, which was causing us a lot of problems. They don't have to bend over and trying to work with, and that's where we were running into a lot of problems with the bending over. So it just, ergometrically, it's better. It's keeping our guys happier and healthier. It's done what we expected from it. Yes?
On your emergency runs, what is the cost per unit that goes out on an emergency run? Fire department.
What is our cost, or what's it cost the patient? I think we bill about $850. What we use is the Medicare rate for billing. What do we get reimbursed for that? Anywhere from $64 to the total amount. Depends what insurance company people have. If they have no insurance, they don't pay. We don't go after people, local people that live in the city. If they can't pay, they have no insurance, we don't go after them. We provide the service, we get them to the hospital, we say thank you very much, and then we move on. I can't speak to what they do. I think they're probably a little more aggressive in pursuing the funds than we are, much to the consternation of our finance director.
Thank you, Chief.
Sure.
Very good. Howard Elstro, the Public Works Director, has a report on current activities for what we've been doing, and I think maybe what's coming up this fall yet.
I've got 3 items I'd like to share with you this evening. First, our engineering staff is in full swing preparing for the Kibbe Street reconstruction project next year. This is a $2.2 million project. It's reconstructing Kibbe Street from Bell Fountain to Pine Street. When it's complete, it'll have new base, new curbs, new gutters, new sidewalks, tree lawn. It'll be very, very nice, just like the other streets around town that we've reconstructed. The money is coming from 4 different funding sources. Those would be STP funds, something we call CMAQ, which is Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Improvement Funds, which are federal funds. We have a state grant from the Ohio Public Works Commission, something we refer to as, you may have heard, State Issue 1 funds. And the last increment of money is from our own local gas tax funds. So it takes an awful lot of work. It actually takes 4 or 5 years of planning to get a project this far along, where we find the funds, we do the design work, and we will be bidding that out very soon with the construction of 2015. The other project that I would like to talk about is stormwater funds, stormwater projects. This is of interest. I know that somebody in this room in the Essex area called Councilor Adams and says, hey, I've got a problem in back of my house, and I see some neighbors having stormwater and flooding problems. Ms. Adams called us, and you may recall about 2.5 years ago, this city went forward with a stormwater assessment fund that collects funds for the city of Lima to stay compliant with EPA regulations, but it also is a resource available to us to correct problems like this. When somebody calls in and says, hey, I have a property and it's perpetually flooding, is there anything the city can do? Sometimes we can, and with these funds we will. In particular, in the case of Essex, that backs up to a city parcel that's a wooded lot, it's a wetland, but what we're finding is that the neighbors are taking their basement water and dewatering their basements by way of sump pump onto the backs of their lots, and it cannot get away from their lots sufficiently. We do want people to pump water onto the ground, into their yards, into their front yards, side yards, rather than just right out into the street. Part of the whole stormwater philosophy is let's recirculate this water and recharge our groundwater. But in this case, it can't get farther enough away from those properties. When we have complaints like this and we have an engineering solution that we can find, what we do is program this into a whole compilation of projects and bid those out at the first of the year for construction next year. So in the case of the Essex properties, our stormwater manager has been out there. He will be designing the fix over the winter months, and come springtime we will bid that out, and next summer we'll have our contractor out there making some channels or laying some tile so water can get away and people can cease the problem of accumulated water on their parcels. The last thing I'd like to comment on, since Saul Allen, our Deputy Director of Streets, is not here this evening, and he was going to try to make it, but I don't see him here. I will comment that even though this is September, we're thinking about winter. And you will hear today, and you'll probably hear for the next several weeks, the question is, does the city, does the state, does the county have enough salt to fight the winter conditions this coming year? The Ohio Department of Transportation just opened bids 2.5 weeks ago, and for 26 counties in the state of Ohio, they received absolutely no bids for salt. There were other counties that the cost of salt was exorbitant, and those bids were rejected. One county where they were paying $30 a year ago, and during this past spring was paying $50. The cost per ton was quoted at $162. Let me assure you that the city of Lima does have salt in its storage bin. Does it have enough to get us through a typical winter? No, not yet at this time. But we do have 500 tons in storage. That'll get us through at least a third of the winter. In the meantime, Saul Allen will be seeking quotes for additional salt and bring the salt in month after month in small quantities so that we can make sure we respond as necessary to the conditions that winter throws at us. It could be that we approach salting and snow control just like we did last year. When salt got very scarce, you didn't see us salting as heavily as we have in past winters. But what we concentrated on were the main thoroughfares and intersections. It was enough. It was a different level of service, but it was enough that people could just slow down, take their time, get through the residential roads, and then once they got to the thoroughfares, there was more traction. So we always ramp up to the conditions, and one of the conditions this year might be slim resources. We don't know that for sure. We're still finding, looking for sufficient resources to get us through, but let me assure you we've got enough to get started, and by February or January we will have, I'm sure we will have ample supplies to get us through the balance of the winter. That's all I have, unless there's questions. Yes, sir.
I know a couple years ago you guys were looking at that liquefied salt, whatever it was,
Yes.
winter project. Did that come about, or is it still looking at?
The question was, have we looked at liquefied salt? There's actually two products out there. There is liquid calcium chloride, which some jurisdictions actually put tanks on their truck and spray down on the ground. We have not done that because of the cost of equipment, the high cost of equipment that we would have to take on to outfit all of our trucks, plus there'd have to be storage and mixing facilities at the Collett Street Street Maintenance Center. There's also products that different jurisdictions are using, which is beet juice, sugar beets. And somehow they are pressed, and they have a melting quality too, but it comes in a liquid form. We have not moved to that, again, because of the high cost of outfitting our whole fleet. What we do in very, very low temperatures, when temperatures get down in the single digits, salt by itself isn't very effective. At that point, what we do is spray on top of our salt liquid calcium chloride. That way, when it hits the ground, the calcium chloride begins the melting process, and then the salt takes over. So we've kind of hit a middle compromise there, but it's affordable for what we have to work with. Yes, sir?
What's the status on the underpass over there on Elm Street and the turnaround thing?
The question is, what is the status of the east side grade separation, correct? And we are going to design with that project. We have sufficient funds to begin the final design. Ohio Department of Transportation has given us limited authority to proceed with that. They haven't told us we can go completely through final design, but our engineers are beginning to actively begin the final design process. We think that's important. We know though we made multiple attempts over the last 12 years to find funds and a solution to the east side grade separation. We have not been able to crack that nut that will fund that grade separation. But we know that if we continue to push forward, get it designed, eventually there will be a federal transportation bill, and that at that point we think we will be poised in the right position to latch on to funds and accomplish that project. Yes.
Do you want to speak on it, or Rick, the bike path, the connection? I see some stenciling going on front of that.
In this neighborhood, well, as we are into, the question was, where are we with the bicycle path connections? This is phase 5 of our bike path efforts, and now we're moving into a phase where we are connecting outlying neighborhoods to the main path along the Ottawa River corridor. We have a project up north currently being constructed, and we have a project down south, down south, that we are connecting. And it's done by a series of both paths, especially through MLK Park, going all the way south to Central Point. But then we are using a system of streets and marking those streets as bike paths. We're looking for low volume streets. We will have additional segmented efforts to connect additional neighborhoods and create more on-street bike paths here in the future. But at this point, we are connecting Central Point wandering through a system of streets, picking up Cook Park, and then heading north to the as I said, Ottawa Metro Bikeway. So, thank you.
When we go put the signs up in areas, because I see someone driving in that area, the Cook Park area, and we got people driving back of,
Or your question about is when are we putting signs on bike path?
yeah, because, they come on 4th, you got that eastbound 4th
Right.
Street, they driving in
Yeah,
there, not a driveway.
in an effort to make sure that vehicular traffic is not confused by bike paths, which do abut the streets at certain locations so they can use the streets as part of the bike routes. We are putting in bollards. That is a visual cue. They're about this tall, they're reflective at night, and it'll be a very visible signal to the driving public that no, this is not a driveway, this is not a street. And additionally, there will be actual signs posted that say no motor vehicle. So some of those places are more important than the other. We have a couple of those bollards up right now. I know we have them at Cook Park. I think there's one at Farote Park. And off of 4th Street, there should be one already erected there. If not, it will be erected in a day or two. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes. The question is, what was the excavation and the paving along Fairview? And yes, as it's north of Fairview and it connects to Cook Park. Yes, that is one of the segments of the new bike path. And I get reports that both that as well as MLK connector has been heavily used already by children in the neighborhood. So that's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. The other thing that Saul would mention this time of year is that folks ought to be prepared for leaf pickup sometime soon, and we'll want folks to take advantage as they have. It's been a growing trend for people to use the disposable bags for collecting leaves rather than just putting them out for us to collect, and that's helpful to, I think, you as the property owner, me as a property owner, to be able to get them up rapidly, keep them from blowing around. But this time of year, we're getting ready for, as Howard said, winter and fall activities, and that's one of those that we'd like to mention, bring to your attention. Rick, you have some comments from the Parks Department?
Thank you, Mayor. It's Great to be here tonight. Just to follow up on that bikeway conversation, actually the fence has gone up. I don't know if you've seen it, the path that runs north and south through Cook Park at the west end. You'll see that we put some fencing up here in the last couple of days so that it helps deter vehicular traffic, and we want the pedestrians to continue to walk on through there. A lot of kids are using that space after school and before school, which is terrific at both ends, both the east and west ends of Cook Park. So just again, some safety issues. Other activity that Howard mentioned too along the way with the bikeway, we're coming in from the south end of Dr. Martin Luther King Park, joining there, and then connecting on, heading north. So you'll see some of those improvements as the days and weeks go by. Also over at Cook Park, we look forward here in the next couple of weeks to wrap up our restroom project. We got started last fall, a little late, went through as you all know, a very challenging winter to get a whole lot done there. We got through this spring and into the fall now. As we approach those days, we look forward to getting that restroom up and open here. And then we'll do some kind of an opening later on in that process. So that's all coming together. We are also over on St. John's. You see, we've done a little bit of reconfiguring of the underpass and some redesign, some landscape design, and it's going to help knock down the erosion efforts, the problems that we were having there. It's also going to make it a little more accessible for us to maintain with the equipment we have. So those are just some of the items going on, here in the neighborhood. We're also very fortunate to be here shortly, hiring a our fourth and potentially a fifth park ranger. We're in that process, which is a long process. So we look to, again, help staff our parks with the proper people out there at different times of the day and in the evening so that those events that are going on. And we hope to have one of those rangers on in February and potentially another one right about that same time. So a lot going on in the parks. We are transitioning right now from our summer model or our mode into the fall, and then of course into the winter activities will be right behind that. So look forward to those things going on, some changes. It seems like every season we go into a change and get ready for the next season. So about the next couple of weeks, you'll see some of our recreational activities change with the schools. With volleyball, we'll be prepping up for basketball, which will run, of course, throughout the winter months. So a lot of activities. If you've got any questions, feel free to check out our website under the Lima Rec Department. I'll also have a Facebook page if you are so inclined to check out some of the different things that we have going on, both parks, recreation, and forestry for the city of Lima. Anyone have any questions? Mr. Glenn.
Tell me about the big project you worked on, how we got the money and stuff. Let them know about that.
Yes, last January, real briefly here, we were selected as one of the pilot cities in the state of Ohio with the American Electric Power, AEP, Ohio, and trying to pull all that activity together. The challenge was for us to go out and engage 750 folks throughout the city of Lima, had to be residents, that in turn they would come back to us with a check for $75,000 to help us with the lighting program at Simmons Field, as you know, where the Lima Locos and some other teams, both Lima Senior and LCC, play some of their ball games. So we're looking forward to bringing that all together here in the next few months, and then you'll also be a part of, or you'll hear, and hopefully you'll be a part of the sustainability process in that educational element that AEP threw out to us and that we got people involved with. And that was really all about great ways for Lima to save money, and save energy at the same time. So great program. We were very fortunate to be selected, and then very fortunate, with a very I would have to say, I guess it was a huge team effort on behalf of an awful lot of people to help us reach that 750, which was no easy task. Yes.
Landscape, you said, you're going St. John, you've got Vine to substation Central. Now, I've been through there several times, and the guys are cutting these lawns, they're leaving clippings all on the sidewalk and everywhere, on this side of the city. St. John's, Vine, even on Main Street, when they cut that grass, they don't clean up all the time. They just leave it out there, they don't blow it or nothing, and people are walking through that stuff. So, does your crew take care of that?
We don't go onto private property. We will maintain the underpass areas, and our guys are instructed to, once you clip it, you get the clippings off of it with blowers and or with the mower to push them off. I know one of the things that Saul always struggles with folks, contractors, and just the homeowners of blowing grass into the streets. And I think it's exactly what you're talking about, King.
This is right down the main door corner. You go out there anytime when they cut that grass, even on 4th and Main. I live right on the corner.
Okay.
And you walk through there sometimes, grass clippers are everywhere. They come and load it, but they just say, oh, what the heck?
Yeah, that's not what our guys are trained to do, and we'll make sure we move forward with that. Yeah, absolutely. We don't want the grass clippings out in the streets.
Yeah, you clean it up on the other end of town, but you come out here and you use that stuff like it's nothing. And that really irritates me and a lot of others.
We'll have to pay close attention to that. That's for sure. Thank you for that. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Going back to St. John's Underpass.
Uh-huh.
All those stones that you put in on I know it's because of erosion and
Sure.
stuff like that, but don't you think they're going to end up getting all over the place eventually?
Well, we're going to apply an epoxy that's going to hold those in place for a number of reasons. And we're testing a number, as we speak, not as we speak, but as of today, I was dropped off a sample of that product. It's going to help. We used it on Market Street, up and down the streetscape in downtown, and we're looking to do the same method here to help hold those stones so they're not, yes, no. No, it should be a natural. It might darken the stone a little bit, but it's not going to change it's not going to go from red to blue or from gray to green or anything like that. Yes. All righty. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick. And Finance Director Steve Cleaves is here. We're just now gearing up for the budget exercise in preparation for 2015, and this is our version of Mr. Grinch, and he's here to serve up his dose of reality.
Well, actually, Mr. Grinch, I think, is on vacation this year. We're in quite a bit better shape than we have been in the past few years. We are gearing up to go into our budget exercise already for 2015. There'll be a letter going out to the department heads at the end of this month, and we go through about a 2.5-month exercise massaging the budget, and we submit it as an estimate to council in the first week of December. And then we have finance hearings towards the latter part of January and February to go through the final approval process. I want to talk a little bit about the three major funds that we have, which would be the general fund, which funds the general operating activity in the city. Fire and police is the big chunk of that. Between fire and police and the courts and things that support safety services, that is pretty close to 75+% of our general fund budget. The other two large funds are the water fund and the sanitary sewer fund. And just to show you the relative size The general fund's about $30 million. That's the large bar graph. The water fund's about 16, and the sewer fund's about 10. So actually, our general fund is larger than the next two funds combined. We're facing some challenges with the EPA in these enterprise funds, particularly in sanitary sewer. So I want to highlight what that's going to mean going forward to the residents and to the management of that fund. I think I'll point out that the blue portion of these bar charts are labor. You can see in the general fund, labor is a big piece. It's about 70% of the total cost, while in the enterprise funds, it's about a third of the cost or less. The big difference is capital spending and debt service. That's paying off bonds for money we borrowed to build water and sanitary sewer assets. In the general fund, it's just a little slice up here, the green and the yellow. That's the capital and the debt service. It's less than 5%. But in the enterprise funds, it's 30 to 40%. Now, with these EPA mandates going forward, particularly in the sewer fund, this is where sewer fund expenditures are going to go forward when we start to comply with the capital spending that is necessary to operate those assets. Oh, I got another main assistant here. We're going from about $10 million up to $16 million. That's a big increase. And that's all because of mandated capital improvements. And again, this is the capital and the debt service piece now. It's about 40% in 2014 of spending for sanitary sewer. It's a total of about $4 million. That's going to go from 4 to 8.5 million by 2025. That's huge. That means at this point in time, half of the budget, half of the spending in the sanitary sewer area will be for capital assets. This is debt payments and cash capital. So that is the challenge that the city faces. I'm sure when Gary Ashley gets up here, he'll have some more to say about those mandated expenditures. But that is a big chunk of money. We've got a $30 million project ongoing now. We have an additional project probably that large or larger. We could be spending upwards to $100 million between now and 2025 to meet those EPA mandates. That's no small task. It also points out that the borrowing activity is going to be really heavy. The contracting activity will be heavy. It's really important that we achieve the most favorable debt rating that we can to help keep our interest costs down. Interest costs can be extremely high on that debt. And actually, the strength of our general fund impacts how much interest we'll have to pay on the enterprise fund. In the financial markets, when your city receives a debt rating, they look at your overall strength of the community, and a big piece of that is your general fund. As you can see in that first chart, the general fund is about twice the size of either one of those funds, water or sewer. So we do have a challenge going forward. I'm sure that Gary will talk and give you some additional information and data on that. But we are carrying up for our budget. And just a little historical perspective here. This shows in inflation-adjusted dollars what's happening to our general fund budget since 2003. You can see that we have These are trend lines, and we have consistently reduced our general fund spending for the past 10 years, inflation-adjusted dollars. And that's a challenge, and it's a challenge that we really need to continue to meet. It's not easy. We've hired 12 to 14 additional safety services officers this year. We purchased 7 police vehicles. We purchased the vehicles in the fire department, the improvements to the fire stations that the chief referred to in his talk. So we are spending quite a bit on capital in the general fund also, about $2 million this year. So we do have some challenges going forward. The only reason why we can spend money on needed infrastructure is because we have to squeeze. We just don't have enough money to do everything, but we do prioritize and do our best to put the funds where they are most critically needed. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer. Yes?
Okay, with the decrease in population here in the city, decreasing the population here in the city of Lima, what does this do to the general fund, water, and what's the other? Sewer? Will that raise our rates in the next coming years, or because the population is going down?
Well, I think we're pretty convinced we're not going to have any tax increase in the general fund. Water and sewer are enterprise funds, and the rates that the customer pays are the rates necessary to fund that activity. You know, Gary will talk about these mandates, but when the EPA tells you to spend $100 million, you have to pay for that through a rate structure that will support that capital cost. And that's why I was highlighting that. That's a big expenditure increase in the sewer area. That's huge, and that's a challenge. And I know Mr. Shealy and the finance people who work on that project, you know, there are some management techniques, contract techniques that he is utilizing to try to control those costs and track them and make sure we don't overspend. But those are expensive projects, and there will be an impact.
And Chief Martin, Lima Police Department, you have some comments for us about what's going on, perhaps with the new rookie cops as well?
Thank you.
Yes, and I will say I've got actually quite a few items I wanted to mention tonight, but I'll try to keep my mentions brief in order to respect everyone's time. But if anyone has any questions about any of the items I talk about, or if you have questions about anything else, I will gladly stick around tonight for as long as anyone would like me to answer any questions that you may have. First of all, yes, we have had some recent hiring. We have hired 6 new officers recently. And then next week, we will actually have 2 additional new officers that are going to be getting sworn in. Of those, the 2 for next week, they're actually being funded for a minimum of 2 years by a grant from the Ohio Attorney General's office. And what that's going to allow us to do is those 2 new officers that are being hired will replace 2 more experienced officers that we will then send to the West Central Ohio Crime Task Force. And the 2 officers going to the Crime Task Force, their primary focus is going to be on heroin trafficking and issues surrounding heroin trafficking. And we have applied for and are hoping to get good news later this month for an additional round of cops hiring grant. We have applied for a total of 3 positions, which again, we should find out before the end of this month whether we receive that award or not. And all total, if we receive those 3 positions, that would actually bring us up then to a current budgeted strength of 83 officers. So again, now we're actually getting staffing back to a level where we really should be for all that we have going on in Lima. Of those 6 new officers that are hired currently, they are all in their field training program. And then again, the additional 2 that we hire, or that will be getting sworn in next week, we're going to get them into the field training program as quickly as possible. They have a couple weeks of in-house training to go through first, and then they will be put out with a police training officer for a minimum of 19 weeks. At the same time, also with the park rangers that Rick Stolle mentioned, we will be helping to train the new park rangers as well. Also, under our current one of our current COPS grants, that included a school resource officer, which is Officer Nate Garlock. He just started in the month of August, being assigned to that duty full-time. He does still report to the police department every day, but in essence, his beat is now the city schools, and he is already fitting in there. He's actually been working with the schools, trying to develop some programs that will hopefully help give us some better inroads in terms of long-term recruiting with our local young people, trying to recruit those local young people to want to become police officers when they turn 21 years of age. And in addition to that, he is devoting all of his time then to making sure that the schools are kept safe as well. I wanted to let everybody know about the LPD renovations, and actually, in addition to the renovations that are actually occurring at the police department, we also have the renovations at Safety City being finished. For Safety City, I will let everyone know that we have an open house that is going to be taking place on October 11th, and I would really strongly encourage anyone that has time available that day to come out and see the new facility and see all of the new buildings that have been put out there. And again, it was a first-rate facility before. It's an even better facility now, and it's something that I think this community should be proud of. And again, it is truly a community partnership effort. It is not something the Lima Police Department's done. The Noon Optimist and numerous local businesses, organizations have all come together to build the facilities that are out there. Chief Hefner, I'm sure, is probably very much appreciative of the Stay Alive House, which is going to be teaching fire safety for the children as well. And again, if you got a chance on October 11th, come out to the open house. I wanted to let everyone know about the crime stats, because again, that's something that people like to know about. Where are we in terms of our crime numbers? The most available or most current data that we have available right now is through the end of July. The August numbers are not completely finished yet. There's usually about a 2-week lag time from the end of the month before we have everything compiled and we've been able to verify it as accurate. So through the end of July, though, I can let you know that our crime is down over 10% for the same as compared to the same period last year. So again, we're continuing that downward trend that we have seen for a number of years now, and that is something that we want to keep going down. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is if the community continues to help us as you have been doing. So, and I realize that in this group I'm preaching to the choir, but I would still like to encourage you to continue. When you see something, call us. Let us know what's going on in your neighborhoods. And also at the same time, I would like to thank you for all of the efforts that you've been making up to this point. And then lastly, I do want to let everyone know about the next Coffee with a Cop, which is going to be occurring on September 20th from 10 a.m. to noon. Now, this one is actually going to be at the Bluffton McDonald's on I-75. And I've had some people question as to why we would be holding one of these events in Bluffton. Well, I have to let you know that there is not anything that occurs in the city of Lima that doesn't impact the areas throughout all of Allen County. And likewise, crime that occurs elsewhere outside of Allen County impacts Lima. And there's a great deal of cooperation that goes on every day amongst all of the law enforcement agencies within the county. And this is a way people that live in Bluffton may work in Lima or vice versa. And so, again, it's a way of reaching out. Rick Skilleter, the chief of the Bluffton Police Department, is going to be there, as well as the sheriff, as well as either Chief Keith or someone from his agency. And we're still trying to get other agencies throughout the county to join in this with us in this effort of getting out there, interacting with the community in a very non-hostile, obviously non-enforcement related way. That, you know, again, McDonald's is providing the coffee, so if you're like me and you like caffeine as much as I do, you know, again, it's a good opportunity to have some McDonald's coffee, and at the same time, you can let us know what's on your mind. Ask us any questions that you'd like to ask us. And again, then the next one after that will be at one of the Lyman McDonald's again. But we're wanting to try to keep moving that around, getting as much involvement throughout the county as we possibly can. And again, with that, Mayor, that is everything I have. I know I've gone through it rather quickly, so if there's anything at all, I will be sticking around afterwards and will make myself available as long as anyone would like to talk.
Now, new police officers that you hired. Now, a few years ago, we used to have the walking cop. Police officers used to walk through the neighborhoods and visit people. Now, today, nobody wants to get out and they don't want to mix with the public. Now, there's 4 sides of the city, and we never hardly see any police officers unless there's trouble. And it's very rare that they used to walk the block, and talk to people, and go up on the porch, sit down, have a pop or a cup of coffee. We need to get back to that old way, because nobody knows what these police officers look like, they don't know their demeanor, we have no clue about anything about them. So do they have any diversity classes that they attend, so they'll know more about the culture of the city?
Well, in terms of the diversity training, that is something that every officer is required to go through, actually at the police academy. And then we do have ongoing, continuing training that involves diversity awareness at various times at the police department. I would say that I have to respectfully disagree with your comment that the officers don't have to get out of their cars anymore. We actually now, again, I will tell you, most of it's not normally done as foot patrol. Most of it is done as bike patrol. But we do mandate officers getting out of their cars on bikes. We continue mandating the officers get out of their cars and ride on the RTA buses. Well, and again, some of it may be the time of days that you're looking, because again, honestly, like this time of day, well,
I see it all. Right? We don't see any officers out here. We don't see them walking the streets. We don't see them on the bikes.
well, and again, now as far as the areas where the officers spend the majority of their time, we do assign them to the areas where we have the most crime occurring. And the reason,
Chief, they need to come out and be among the people, so
well,
we can know who they are and everything. I've been on for 2 years, and I haven't hardly ever seen a police officer out here.
okay, well, and again, I can't speak for any specific street or block, but what I will tell you is, again, we put our resources where most of the crime is occurring, and the reason we do that is to try to prevent more crime from occurring. The example that Chief Harry Dolan, who recently retired from the Raleigh Police Department, gave one time when I heard him speak was he talked about firefighters. They do not, when they get a report of a fire at a specific address, they don't say, oh, well, we're not going to deal with that. We're going to go out and drive around other places and see if we can find a fire happening someplace else and put it out instead. When they know there's a fire, they go to it. When we know we have crime fires, or what we call our crime hotspots, we put the officers in those locations so that they can try to prevent the crime. Now, some of that crime is prevented, some of it is displaced and moved to other areas. As it gets moved to other areas, we then assign the bulk of our staff time to those other areas. Again, with the purpose of being to try to disrupt the crime before it occurs. Well, and I would guess that they probably do, and it's probably just a matter of.
I can sit on my porch and see it all.
Well, and again, we're putting the resources where the crimes are occurring.
Crime is not always on the same block all the time. If the police officer gets friendly with the people in the neighborhoods, I can tell, okay, there's crime going over here, they're doing this, they're doing that, but we don't get that communication.
Well, and again, though, that's one of the reasons I'm here tonight. That's also one of the reasons, as I mentioned, like with the Coffee with a Cop events that we have and other events that we have on a regular basis. Part of that, because, again, I'm going to let you know, we have currently working in the police department, we have a total of 77 officers. That includes my position all the way through all of our patrol officers. We average around 45 to 48,000 calls for service per year. Now, again, when you divide the math up, that keeps our guys busy. So, again, we cannot put people. In the days of the neighborhood officers, that was a great thing. But I'll also tell you, in the days of the neighborhood officer program, we had 98 police officers, as opposed to, again, right. So, again, a lot of that is a luxury I wish we did have. Unfortunately, though, we cannot put people out just walking door to door talking to people as much as we would like to. Now, we do still mandate the officers get out of their cars. As I mentioned, we put them out on bike patrols. We put them on the RTA buses in order to be able to interact with people that they otherwise might not be able to interact with. And again, that is all done for positive community interaction. And again, we have other ways that we try to do that. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to just put people out walking on a regular basis in every neighborhood in town.
We need to see them every now and then. We don't see them at all. I'm telling you, 2 years I've sat on my porch and watching people go by and nothing.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. You say they ride the RTA bus?
Yes, ma'am.
I ride the bus almost every day. I've never seen. Are they dressed? Are the policemen dressed?
They are in full uniform, yes, ma'am. And again, I can't speak for the specific times you've ridden, but I do know that we, again, and I don't have the actual number of hours with me, but it has been a very large number of hours this year that they've been riding. And one of the things that they do sometimes is they'll put their bikes on the bike racks that have been made available by RTA, and they'll ride to another part of town, take the bikes off.
I'm just speaking as the person that rides the bus all the time. And everybody in here, they know
Well,
I ride the bus. And I have never, before I retired, I never saw a policeman on the bus. Now that I am retired and I ride the bus, I never.
well, and again, if you'd like to discuss this further afterwards, I'll be more than happy to. Like I said, and I could also provide for you the hours that they've ridden, just even this year alone. But it is something that we are continuing to have them to do. Now, again, we can't have them on every bus route every day. That's not going to happen. We don't have the staff available for it. But we do have them on an irregular basis get out of their cars, get on the buses, and ride part of a bus route. Sure.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. And Vince, and then we're going to wrap up with the dynamic duo of our utilities officials after Vince is done.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm Vince Osier, Director of Human Resources with the City of Lima. As kind of what's already been alluded to, it's been kind of a busy year, at least from a hiring perspective at the city. Hired, as they already mentioned, several police officers, several firefighters. Also hired some folks in the Utility Field Services Division, something they needed to do for quite a while, actually. And then in the coming months, I think there's going to be another civil service exam for firefighters probably before the end of the year. It depends on when the Civil Service Board actually gets it scheduled. And then we're anticipating another civil service exam for police officer. Again, we would expect that to occur before the end of the calendar year. And then we've got a customer service specialist management, not management position, a customer service specialist position that the Civil Service Board just posted recently. When there are job announcements, opportunities to take the civil service exam, typically those appear in the Sunday edition of the Lima News, and then the other thing that we try to do in our office is make sure they appear on the city's website. And you can go to the city's website and get signed up to receive texts or notification when a job posting occurs on the website, which is kind of a handy thing to have, because that way you get automatically notified that there is a job posting that's become available. So I would encourage folks to do that, or if you know other folks that would have an interest in working for the city. The other thing I just want to say about the civil service system in general, and it's kind of what I refer to as the 3 Ps about trying to get a job with the city. The first thing is be prepared. Most civil service positions, you have to take a civil service exam and you have to pass the exam to appear on the eligibility list, so be prepared for that. The second thing I'd like to say is be patient. From the date the test is administered, or actually the ad appears, The test is administered to the date we actually hire somebody off that eligibility list can be longer than a year, depending on what the position is. Typically, eligibility lists are good for a 12-month period, entry-level lists. And the third thing I'd say, the third P is be persistent. Most people, the first time they take a civil service exam, are probably not going to get to the top of the list to where they can get an interview. So if you have an interest in working for the City of Lima, those three P's can help you be successful. The last one, which is take the test more than once, be persistent, stay with the process. Okay, that's all I have for tonight. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Vince. And Gary Sheely, our Utilities Director, and Mike Caprella, Deputy Director, why don't you both come up? And I'm going to hold you to a strict timetable. I'll go like this. All right.
Gary Sheely, Utilities Director, Mr. Caprella, Mike, Deputy Director. Our domain, you're probably all aware of, is the water system, the wastewater system, and then we administrate a garbage and refuse contract. I'll briefly talk about the wastewater system, or the sanitary sewer system, as Mr. Cleves referred to, and the garbage and refuse contract, and Mike will follow up with the water system. I'll start briefly by saying the garbage and refuse contract, we're coming off of a 5-year contract with Allied Services. That contract will terminate on the end of November of this year. As of December 1st, the Allen County Refuse will become our new garbage and refuse service contractor. We have bid that contract. We got very, very favorable bids from the Allen County Refuse. We've got experience with Allen County Refuse. They do operate the compost site for us. The contract we've extended to 7 years with an additional capacity for an 8-year contract. We've basically done that because of the cost of putting the garbage and refuse trucks and how the amortization schedule or payback schedule has made it very advantageous for a longer contract. Our current rate right now is $20.25 that the residents pay per month per unit. We believe that we'll be below the $20, probably in the $19.70 range, somewhere in that range. We're doing those final numbers now. Comparison to other surrounding areas, it's a very, very good contract. Most costs are much, much higher, particularly for the level of service that we provide. It's still the same terms as we have now. We pretty much, if you put it out there, we haul it away. The 3 cubic yard concept we have on that weekly pickup allows us most stuff to go out to the curb basically and get removed. So, pay attention to that. You'll basically just see a different truck on the street. It's the same truck, type of truck, but it'll be by a different company come December 1st. In the wastewater side or the sanitary sewer side, we are very, very close to getting to a final agreement with US EPA. This is this mandated Clean Water Act, and remember that mandated Clean Water Act requirements the city has to basically abide by. We have to ensure we're not polluting the Ottawa River. We've been at this for a long, long time. The project overall is about $110 million in capital or construction costs. The overall project, with kind of everything added into it, it's about $150 million over 28 years. We, upon entering this agreement, through our negotiations, we will have the longest duration of time in that 28-year period than any other city in this country has been able to do. That's a lot of work that we've done in Washington. It's a lot of work the mayor's been engaged with the Conference of Mayors, pushing this too. But even that 28-year schedule is based upon affordability. We have to be able to pay for that debt service when we take on various different projects. And there are controls that we're building into the contract that allows us to possibly reduce that cost or even shove this project even out further so we don't basically bankrupt the community and impose great costs on our community more than what the EPA believes that we can bear. we're not sitting around though waiting on the agency just to approve this. As Steve pointed out, we've got a $30 million project that we're going to be going to enter into contract for at the first of the year. It's a major improvement in our wastewater treatment plant. We're improving our lift stations now. We're also going to be looking at a 100-year-old wastewater system, the collection system, the sewer system, and rebuild that, because that will collapse if we do not basically make those improvements. So there's a lot of challenges in this, but just remember, in 1972, this country passed the Clean Water Act. That is the driver. And I know I get the calls from residents who don't like to pay increasing sewer bills, but really, where the focus needs to go is Washington. Because if we don't get relief from Congress, the EPA is going to continue to impose these costs, and I have no choice but to basically ask for more sewer rates from the residents. There was a question about our sewer rates and the decreasing city population. We do have, one of the advantages is everything east of Lima comes into our sewer system. So what growth occurs, frankly, out in Bath and Perry Townships will help basically help us manage our sewer rates better for the decreasing population inside the city. In the water system, we basically service the whole county, so we can spread that cost over that whole rate base. But in the sewer system, we have to basically look at sustaining this outside customers, because the outside customers actually are the county's customers, and they could in fact allow those to be serviced by the county. And we're working very diligently to try to stabilize that rate structure out there to make all this mandates affordable. Mike?
Last but not least, they always making me go last. I don't know why, but they always do. So, but I'll be brief. You know, when you say safe drinking water, what's the word that's most frequent in your mind right now? What do you think of? Somebody say Toledo? I was hoping somebody said Toledo. Yeah, so. And the reason I bring that up is, you know, Mr. Cleaves talked about some capital projects in the water side and in the sewer side. Well, over the past 5 or 6 years, we've done a couple really large projects in our system. We built a new reservoir, 5.1 billion gallon reservoir, 5.1 billion. I mean, it's a big one. Williams Reservoir, named after Pharrell Williams. So what that did is that gave us a lot more capacity, and it almost made this community drought-proof, which is a big thing. Hopefully we never get to that point, but if we ever do, we're really poised to be in really good shape. Second thing, we added on to our water treatment plant, and we put a whole new treatment. We would change reservoirs. We have 5 of them. We could go from this one, or, you know, jump around till we found one that didn't have an algae problem. And if all 5 of them had an issue, we bring it into the water plant, and with the carbon that we put onto the end of that plant, we can knock anything out of there and suck it right out of there. So we have really put this community in a good position. I like the term the Lima News used, almost bulletproof. And, you know, we have made almost a bulletproof system. We've had to make a large investment, but I think we were just thinking forward enough that we've positioned, you know, this water system for this community in really good shape. Like Gary said, we service on the water system almost all of the county. I think we have over 76,000 people that drink our water. I mean, we just last year went to Cairo, north of here. Just within the last couple of weeks, the line was approved going out to Westminster, out by Rudolph Foods, and out to the airport, and all the homes in between can tie onto our system. So we do have a growing population base, you know, within the water system. So we have, you know, we built a new water tower, another, you know, $3 million that we spent up here at Central Point, not far from here, to enhance the pressures in the system, and so we could expand the system. So the capital improvements we've made benefit all of you in here, and will benefit all of us for many years to come. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mike, Gary. Appreciate it. We do have 2 city councilors here, Teresa Adams and Derry Glenn. I don't know if either of you have any comments you'd like to make. Okay. Come up, Derry.
First of all, I'd like to thank Hope Neighborhood Association, Ms. Allen, for having this, and we got a lot of good things going on in the city. We got a lot of things we're all going to work on together, and everybody had great answers tonight, and I'm glad the administration is trying to explain some of them to everybody, but we are working very hard to continue keeping our city above everything. You know, one good thing, I'm going to talk that long. I was at an event there in Ottoville, and one person asked us how our city stayed productive with anyone. If you look at the 3 different little small cities like Lima, Springfield, Middletown, Hamilton, these cities are having really, very bad problem. You know, we are up to stuff on a lot of those things. You know, we are moving in a good direction. And I know everyone will have something to say about it, though, but visit these cities, and you'll see they don't have new cars. They're not tearing the houses down. They're not handling their code enforcement problem. To Mr. Cleese about that. You know, I look at some of his financial things, and I say, you know, you're doing a good job by keeping us financial status, you know, keeping our city up to par. But I think some of the things we talked about, we can work on getting some of the things done and solving a lot of them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Derry. The last thing I'll comment on was the really very good news, the surprise actually last week. Campus is designed to go in the southeast quadrant of the square, which is right across from the police station, that square. It will not encompass all of the real estate, but it will encompass most of it. And it will front on the city-owned plaza economy. In Allen County, we have 10,000 people employed in the health field. And in the region, the 6 counties, there's about 25,000 people. So this is a major portion of our economy in Lima, Allen County, and the region. And their training and ongoing workforce development activities really go to the heart of being able to maintain the kind of quality people that will be working in that industry for many years to come. So this is not a single event. It's not a flash in the pan. It's a long-term institutional presence in the downtown, and will make a real difference both in our community but also in the downtown in terms of continuing to stimulate development there. And yes, ma'am. High-speed rail, which is one of my favorite topics. We continue to work with cities from Chicago to Columbus. We just executed, and there was news about this a couple weeks ago, we executed a memorandum of understanding among all of the communities along the route. We are expecting to compete for federal resources to conduct what's called an environmental impact statement. Right now we've got a plan that was developed which looked at the market, the number of passengers, the opportunities to. This has been helpful, and staff is still here as we adjourn to answer any additional questions that you might have. But thank you to the Hope Neighborhood Association for hosting this. Have a good evening.